We will now start with our muscles, starting from the anterior exo-appendicular muscles. The muscles of the pectoral region, the muscles that are present on the front. We will not be demarcating between the direct or indirect. We will start with the pec major, we will go on to the pec minor, and then we will go to the back, cover those muscles. So let us start with anterior exo-appendicular muscles. First up is pectoralis major muscle. I will be using picture from Grant Settlers or Keith Elmore textbook, and the tables are from Keith Elmore textbook of gross anatomy. So pectoralis major, that is the huge triangular muscles that lies in front of your chest beneath the breast tissue. Bodybuilders, you know it well, and it runs from the clavicle and the sternum and to the all the way to the humerus. And it, as it does attaches, it folds upon itself, creating an anterior axillary wall in front of your armpit. Let us break down its origin. Let me start with the origin. The origin has, there are two origin. The clavicular head, it arises from this part, the anterior surface of the medial two-thirds of the clavicle, and then there is sternocostal part. It arises from the anterior surface of the manubrium sterni and the body of sternum and corresponding upper six ribs. So it arises from here and it gets inserted into this part, that is the lateral lip of the bicipital groove or lateral lip of intertubercular sulcus. So this is the muscle. As you can see, this muscle is having a spiral arrangement, and you can see the fibers. You can see the fibers coming from up. Technically, the insertion is bilaminar. Um, this means that it is not as a single item. Here it is like this. There is a bilaminar insertion. The fibers that are having lower point of origin, they come out and insert here. As we continue on going up, the next fibers get progressively inserted down, and then the next fibers start getting attached to the anterior lamina. So here you can see that this particular arrangement leads to the spiraling nature of the pectoralis major insertion, as it's shown right here. So this is the spiral nature of the pec major that is shown right here. Let's talk about it. Its supply. This muscle, this muscle is supplied by arteries and nerves like all the other muscles, and the nerves that are majorly supplying these muscles are medial and lateral pectoral nerves from the medial and lateral cords of the brachial plexus. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it gets supply from all the roots of the brachial plexus from C5 to T1. So this is the muscle, the only muscle, the one muscle that you can test to check all the root values of the brachial plexus. Talking about the arterial supply, the arterial supply is through a number of arteries. This is, here you can see there is internal thoracic artery, also called internal mammary artery. Its perforating branches go to the front, and then there are various branches of axillary artery, including the superior thoracic artery. Then there is lateral thoracic artery. Then there is thoracoacromial artery, especially with its pectoral branch. So all of these different arteries, they get to supply the pec major. And pec major is a very powerful muscle. I will shortly go into its functions. By the way, you should also know that this is the muscle. Beneath it, you can make a pocket and you insert the prosthetic in case of breast implants beneath this. Now let us talk about its functions. It does, as the shoulder joint is a very mobile joint, this muscle plays its part in the movements across all three axes. Along the anteroposterior axis, there is adduction and abduction of the shoulder joint. So, to test this muscle, you ask the person to flex the shoulder joint and abduct it. Then, as you adduct it, you need to remember that the muscle approaching from the front, from the front, and uh, it's approaching from the front and from the medial aspect. So when it is pulled, it pulls the arm in. So this is how this muscle helps in adduction. This muscle helps in adduction. Let me get it back. When the arm is abducted, you this is how, by the way, you test the muscle. You ask the person to abduct the shoulder, and then you adduct. You can ask adduct by this method, or you can just ask, let me put myself here. You can ask the person to put your hand up and get it in the middle. In both of the methods, the along anteroposterior axis, this is pulled forward, this is pulled inside. The second function, that is the flexion. As you can see, the flexion is having a long transverse axis, and this muscle is approaching from the origin to insertion from the anterior aspect. And so when it contracts, as you can see, this muscle is passing anterior to it. So when this muscle is contracted like this, it pulls forward. I know there are other muscles that are helping in overhead abduction, but at least for the most of the part, this is the flexion. Like when this muscle is highlighted, this is the movement that is made possible by pec major. And last but not the least, there is medial rotation or internal rotation, as this muscle is approaching from the medial aspect as attaching to the anterior surface. It pulls the anterior surface inwards, thus helping in internal rotation. So this muscle, we talked about the pec major being attached to the clavicle head, anterior surface of the medial 1/3, medial 2/3, sternocostal head attached to the anterior surface of body and manubrium, and six costal cartilages, and the aponeurosis of the muscles underneath it that will include external and oblique majorly. Getting attached to the lateral lip of the tubercular sulcus to bilaminar disc, being supplied by lateral and medial pectoral nerves through all the roots of the brachial plexus, and giving a function. It is helping in adduction, medial rotation, and flexion of the shoulder joint. Next, talking about its clinical syndrome. This is an embryological condition, Poland syndrome, that is chiefly recognized by the absence of pectoral muscles, majorly pec major muscles. As you can see, this is the surface landmark created by normal pec major. Normal pectoralis muscle, if this muscle is absent, you can see the difference in the placement of nipples and the bulge of the chest. Then comes the pectoralis minor muscle. As you can see in this model, this is the muscle that is present just underneath the pec major muscle. And when talking about its attachment, this is originating from rib number 3, 4, and 5 majorly. So this is the origin of pec minor muscle, the ribs, and it is getting inserted into this coracoid process. So you can see its insertion right here. This highlighted part, this is the insertion, and these parts, this are the 3 points of origin from the rib number 3, rib 4, and rib 5, and between them you will see the pec minor running. This muscle is supplied by both pec lateral and medial pectoral nerve, majorly by medial pectoral nerve, and similarly its arterial supply consists of majorly this thoracochromial artery and lateral thoracic artery. The function of these muscles majorly depends upon what part or which end of the muscle you are considering fixed. So for a fixed ribs, you can see this, if we consider that ribs are fixed and the scapula is free, so when this muscle contracts, this pulls the scapula forward. It is more evident when you see from the side. Like you can see, when this muscle contracts, it pulls the scapula forward. So this is the protraction function, and when you put your arm out, and this last push that you get from the shoulder, that is through pec minor muscle. Secondly, as you can well deduce from its position, when it contracts, it can pull the scapula down. it helps in depression of the scapula. One more function that I am not very well able to show in the model here is when scapula is fixed. For example, like when I put my hand on my hips or some help, now the scapula will not go down easily. And when pec minor is contracted, rather than pulling the scapula down, now the scapula is fixed. It will help in pulling the ribs up. It will help in pulling the ribs up. So these muscles act as an accessory muscles of inspiration when the scapula is fixed, and you will see a person who is breathing laboriously putting his hands on the hips or some table or anything and taking deep breaths. So this is the function. So this is about pectoralis minor. Then comes the serratus anterior muscle. This muscle originates from the serrate eight ribs. As you can see from here all the way to rib number 8, it originates from here and get inserted on the medial aspect of the medial aspect of the anterior surface of scapula. So here is an isolated model of the origin and insertion of the serratus anterior. So here you can see it is arises from the lateral or outer aspects of the first 8 or 9 ribs, as you can see right here, and it goes back and get inserted here on the anterior aspect of medial border of scapula. It This is where it get inserted. So this is the origin and insertion. Here you can see this muscle, not very visible on the anterior views, but as you can see from the side, it is very prominent, running from the medial border of scapula all the way to 8 ribs. The first two slips you can see originate. First slip you can see originating from both the this first slip originating from both the first and second rib, and then each slip getting originating from the nerve of the rib of the same number. So the nerve supply, the major nerve supply that you have to memorize is this, the long thoracic nerve. This is a nerve that is originating from the roots of the brachial plexus. As you can see, it is arising from 3 roots of the brachial plexus, and then it comes down and runs on the surface on and the medial aspect of axilla, supplying it. This is the long thoracic nerve. Sometimes you may read it as the nerve to the serratus anterior. And one more thing to get it straight right here is that as it is present on the medial wall of axilla, this nerve is vulnerable to injury when there is surgery of the mammary gland or the breast tissue, especially when you are dissecting out the tail of the breast coming right here. And its supply is majorly from the branches of the axillary artery, and these will include the lateral thoracic artery and thoracochromial artery and some branches of the subscapular arteries too. So this is about the nerve supply, the origin insertion, that brings us to its functions. Major function of this muscle is to pull the scapula forward into the ribs. As you can see, when this muscle is contracted, it pulls the scapula forward, so it is helping in protraction of the scapula. And it is helping in protraction of the scapula, and as you can see, as it contracts, not only it pulls the scapula forward, it helps rotate it too. So it helps rotate it in such a way that the upper end goes medially and the lower end goes outward. So due to this rotation, when there is this rotation, when the upper end goes medially, here in this model, in this lower end it goes laterally. So through that, it as it rotates like this, it helps in overhead abduction. So when you are talking about the function, you will see it as getting it attached or getting it in close approximation to the ribs, and protraction and rotation helping in abduction. So these are its functions. So here is a picture with a summary, and you will see its origin. You have saw it origin from the 8 ribs, insertion into the medial aspect of scapula, its function protraction and abduction, overhead abduction, its nerve supply from long thoracic nerve, and arteries flow from branches of axillary artery. When this muscle is paralyzed due to the injury of nerve that may happen in the breast surgeries or mastectomies, then this person is not very well able to keep the scapula attached to the ribs. There is a forward pull is lost. So when a person is asked to put the hands on the surface of the wall and push, then the scapula of the affected side gets a little back. So this is called winging of scapula. This brings us to the small last muscle, that is the subclavius muscle. You saw in the clavicle, this muscle is attached to the subclavian groove on the inferior aspect of clavicle and attached to the first rib. So this is a horizontally running muscle, majorly helping in keeping the clavicle stable during the movement of girdle, and it anchors the clavicle and depresses it, and it is supplied by a nerve of the same name, that is nerve to the subclavius muscle. Moving on, one more thing I would like to discuss regarding pec minor. It's apart from its function, that is the depression, protraction, and sometimes the forceful inhalation. This muscle is very important as a surgical landmark for us. As you can see, it is crossing the neurovascular bundle passing beneath it, including the axillary artery, vein, and brachial plexus. So we define axillary artery and its parts based on it. The part that is before the muscle is first part of axillary artery. Then there is second part behind it. Then there is third part lateral to it. Similarly, there is the name of the lateral thoracic artery coming from the lateral aspect of pec minor, and then the lymph nodes, the axillary lymph nodes, that they are given levels based on that. The one that is before pec minor are first level 1, including humeral, subscapular, pectoral nodes. Then there is level 2 and level 3, depending on the nodes that are behind and beyond the pec minor muscle. So pec minor has a very important function as a land. Thank you so much for listening. I hope so this had been helpful for you. If you have any questions or feedback or suggestions regarding this lecture, please mention down in the comment, and you may reach us through our website. By the way, all the recordings with presentation material is present there, and our Facebook and YouTube channel. Please feel free to reach out. If you have any queries and suggestions, please let me know. I will be trying to follow up with further lectures on the upper limb. Thank you so much.